I am over 100 pages into Gravity's Rainbow.
And?
Yeah. Over 100 pages, and I finally got, like, a small grasp on a tiny thread that could be a plot.
Okay.
I don't know what it's about. You know how I could describe this book?
Okay.
I came up with it earlier. So the book's broken up into, like, every few pages is like they're not chapters, but like a chapter break or like a scene break. You know, like
Yeah.
just the lines. Or in this case, it's 7 squares and then it's a new scene or something.
All right.
I would say every single one of those, including the very opening, is like if you opened a random book off a fiction shelf in a library or a shelf about science and or mostly rockets,
So much like
physics.
so it's kind of like what was that one book where it's like each chapter was like
Oh,
the
on
first chapter of a new novel or something.
If on a Winter's Night a Traveler by Italo Calvino. Yeah, but that one still had a plot that made a lot of sense.
Okay.
It was just every chapter was like a new book, but it still made sense. This one is like if you opened up in the middle of that book, any book,
Yeah.
every scene is just a different book, and you just started reading, and Pynchon, the author, expected you to know everything up to that point that already happened, so you had know the whole plot and the story, but he never explains any of it. So you don't have any way to know what the plot was about up to the point that you're at. It's just you're supposed to know it, apparently.
Now, forgive my ignorance, but has he done like, and does he have like any other books out or like, I don't know if he had like even big, but like just like anything else out like.
He had another book just come out recently, and he's like in his 90s, I think.
But is it all weird and like
I don't know,
super experimental, or is this like a thing he just did for this book and like his other stuff is more?
Everyone says I got to read Crying of Lot 49. That's still very hard, I think. And then there's another one called Vineland, which I think they made a movie out of. Apparently, so that would imagine
That sounds kind of familiar.
Yeah.
just like the name.
So I would imagine that would be the most not applicable, the most readable of his books, I would imagine. But it seems like a lot of times he just wrote books in a way that is like, I don't know how to tell stories, but I could write.
Yeah. Okay.
I could write technical manuals. Honestly, the writing's really good, so that's why I'm still engaged with it. But if it was like also very boring writing, I'd be like, I'm out.
Is that enough to like you consider it good?
I don't know. There's like pedophile stuff, a lot of racial slurs, a lot of maybe butt raping. I can't tell.
Oh wow! Yeah.
Like there's a lot of weird. Like there's a scene where the one guy who might be a main character, I don't know, because apparently there's over 400 characters that show up in this book, just on and off.
Okay.
And a lot of them don't return. You introduce to them and then nothing. There's no point. But one of the main characters that seems to be somewhat important is he's the facilitator of this whole story, I guess. From my understanding, as an infant, he was like Pavlov's dog or one of them fucking tests where it's like, better example would be in The Office. Remember when Jim does the Altoid thing?
Oh, yeah,
where
yeah.
every time he starts up his computer and makes the noise, he gives Dwight an Altoid.
Yeah.
And then finally Dwight just like he starts it up,
Yeah.
and Dwight just puts his hand out for the Altoid, even though he doesn't give him one. He's like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "What? Oh!" And then he's like, "My mouth tastes so bad."
Yeah.
So apparently, as an infant, this guy was in some kind of testing, and the doctors did that to him, but used either noise or something, so he would get erections. So as an adult in World War II now, he seems to be getting erections from rockets.
Okay.
Now, that's kind of gross, but there's this part where I don't know how he ends up in the toilet, but he's hungover. I think he's drunk, and he's throwing up a lot of... There's a lot of descriptions. It's very gross. But he's in some kind of toilet, and he's throwing up, and he drops... in his pocket is a harp, so like a mouth harp, I guess, kind of like a harmonica deal.
Okay.
Falls in the toilet, and he's like climbing through the throw up and shit and all this stuff to like get it, and then his butt's hanging out of the toilet, and I'm going to use the most polite language I can from this book written in the 70s. A group of black gentlemen come in, and he knows some of them, and they're all very described. They're trying to grease up his virgin asshole.
Oh.
And they're going to do stuff to it. But then somehow he ends up going down the toilet, and there's like a waterfall of diarrhea. And I don't think any of this actually happens. I think he just thinks it happened. I don't know, because then that's when it goes into him about being an infant with boners, and there's a lot of boner stuff and a lot of weird butt stuff, and I'm only 100 pages in.
Is it supposed to be like, I know it's up there as like, like difficult books to read, but is it like up there in the oh, you need to read this book, it's like a good book, like
Everyone says it's one of those ones you must read. You simply have to read Gravity's Rainbow.
But are you feeling that like
No, I wouldn't recommend this to anybody, and I'm not even close to done. Like I said, I like the writing. It's not Ulysses hard writing where you're just like, what the fuck am I reading? It's just the plot just doesn't make any sense.
Is it more like, why am I reading?
Kind of. I wish I should have brought it down here just to read excerpts, but it's like every page is just like, I don't, even like halfway through a page, all of a sudden I'm like, who are all these characters that just all of a sudden popped in? And what is happening now? And why are they speaking so much German all of a sudden? Oh, am I in Germany? Are these Germans? There's paragraphs of German. So I don't fucking know. I don't know why people apparently love this book and read it 4 times. And
I'm gonna have to like go on and like see like on YouTube, see if I can find somebody doing like an audible like reading of it, and just fucking just randomly click into things.
But that's the problem though, is because if you do that, like I said, because of the way it's written, you most likely are gonna understand what's happening. You just plot wise, you would have no idea. But then that's the thing. You'd be like, okay, of course I'm not going to understand. I just clicked on random. Yeah. If you start the very beginning and listen all the way through, you'll never understand. Like, there's rockets and boners. And I think somebody said the V2 rocket is actually the protagonist.
Okay.
So the rocket, I think, is who the main character is. Because that's the only thing that's consistent.
Okay.
Which is dumb.
Yeah.
Also, the guy might be telekinetic and making the rockets fall out of the sky because every time he gets a boner or has sex, because he hates women or maybe doesn't hate women, the rockets fall out of the sky. So the government wants to use that. But then the other part of the government thinks that's horse hockey and he just gets boners when he hears rockets. I don't know what the point of it is. It is dumb.
Well, like how many rockets are going off at the same time that he's having burners?
Well, that's the thing. So they think maybe he's causing the rockets or like they don't know. They have no idea. It's World War II and apparently boner rockets.
They just know there's something with rockets and this dude's dick.
I feel like Thomas Pynchon just heard or just thought of, you know what, rockets kind of look like penises, and then just sent off a whole book.
See, I was thinking maybe it was like one of his friends just like, dude, you couldn't write a story about a dude getting his dick hard every time a fucking rocket went off or something like that. And he's like, I betcha.
You don't know how many times I heard the phrase or read the phrase infant hard-on already.
Oh.
Yeah, I didn't
know that was like a physical thing that could happen.
Evidently, because it goes into the stimuli that is needed to cause that. External stimuli and or I think internal might have been. I don't know. I don't like it.
Do you feel more gross reading that than the beginning of like Corn Locker Baby?
Yeah.
Which Otter
That's rough because Corn Locker Baby starts with like the smell of foreskin of an infant and it's fishy or something or taste. I don't remember. I think it was taste.
Yeah,
that was worse. And that was like the opening paragraph. But anyway, one last note about Gravity's Rainbow. Apparently, it was likely to win the Pulitzer, I believe it was. But some of the judges thought it was far too, because of just that stuff, crass and gross and sexually nasty and just fucked up, that they just didn't award anybody the Pulitzer that year.
Oh,
it was like, well, we have to give it to this guy because the writing's so amazing. But you know what? We can't because then it's tainted the prize because it's gross. So nobody gets it. Nobody.
Wow.
I believe it was the Pulitzer. Let me look that up because I want to make sure I got that right because it could have been some other fucking stupid prize. But Gravity's asshole Pulitzer.
No, I guess that's gonna be kind of cool to know that. Be like, well, you know, like how that one year nobody got it. That's because of me.
Yeah,
that's mine.
Some say it was a marketing stunt. I don't know. But no Pulitzer Prize was awarded for fiction that year. The novel was nominated for a Nebula Award, Best Novel, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, something like that. Anyway, it's a nonsense novel. So you folks probably don't need to read it. And I'm going to read Finnegan's Wake probably fairly soon after. So I'm going to go from nonsense to indecipherable nonsense.
And that's pretty long too, right?
Yeah, it's like 400 or 500 pages. But from what
Some say 400 or 500 pages. You never really know. Nobody ever really makes it to the end to know.
Yeah. Just from the little bit of Finnegan's Wake I have read in the past, trying to read chapter 1 a couple times, I would describe it as trying to decipher the remnants of a fading dream.
Oh, wow.
Like a dream you had a couple nights ago, and you're thinking about it and trying to think, what did that mean? But there's there's barely anything left to envision because the dream is mostly gone. That's what you're trying to hold on to.
You know what I think that calls for? I think that calls for you to try to get a hold of Ashley and try to bring back the drunken and inebriated
Reading challenge?
Yeah.
I think he might at one point have been down for Gravity's Rainbow. Finnegan's Wake, I don't... Put it this way, I don't think I have the stamina yet for that, so I don't know if he would or not. I could ask him, but we were trying to do more fun books. But that's...
But like, is other challenging fun books?
Yeah, like that S book I got from J.J. Abrams I've been meaning to read.
Okay.
It has all postcards and shit. You're supposed to read it 10 times. That's why I didn't get into it yet, because you're supposed to read it 10 times. Like, you read it just once, and then you read it a second time, but read all the shit in the margins, and then you read it with the posts and letters, and I don't know. So, I don't like the fact that there's so many ways to read it. It's cool if it's a good book, but if it's like a boring book, I'm going to be mad.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do need to get that out sometime. Anyway, we have an episode. We'll talk for another 10, 20 minutes, and then we'll be done. How about that, Spencer?
I like it.
Yeah, boy. You're listening to the Drunken Pen Writing Podcast. I'm your host, Caleb James. With me, as always, Spencer, the Massachusetts Muff Masher Church.
Oh, okay.
Like
muffins.
I was going to say mung, but I think we've done mung.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Muffins. Muffin Masher.
Yeah.
That's more...
Just the top of the muffins.
The muffin top... No, we're not going into Seinfeld bit. We're not doing it. That is the best part. Has anybody... Just like broccoli stumps. Has anyone ever been like, I want muffin stump. More stump.
It's just cake.
Why do they even have the stump? It's just cake, but without any of the good part.
Yeah.
No crisp or anything. Today, you know what we're talking about?
No, I don't.
This is brought to us from our friends at the Airship Daily. You've heard of them, of course.
Yes, yeah.
10 great novels that were originally published as pulp.
Oh, okay.
Figure that'd be up your alley.
Yeah.
And you might be able to guess some of these, because I think some of the original names might be different.
Okay.
So sometimes great things come in... This is from them, not me.
Yeah.
Sometimes great things come in campy packages. Don't judge a book by its cheesy cover, blah. We know what pulp is. We've discussed it enough. So let's just get into it. So the first one, Spencer, The All Story. You know what The All Story is?
No.
Tarzan of the Apes.
Oh, okay.
The most well-known work of adventure novelist Edgar Rice Burroughs, Tarzan, first appeared serialized in the 1912 to 1913 editions of All Story magazine. That was the magazine. Its immediate popularity allowed for its consolidation into a book in 1914, and since then it has risen from identifiable pulp to a place in the Library of America and the exclusive bibliography of English language classics. So were you a big fan of Tarzan? We never read Tarzan.
No, we were talking about reading.
You were talking about it. I don't have any interest in Tarzan. I don't even watch the movies.
But I did. You did seem a little bit maybe interested in the John Carter, right?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, the Mars books. But here's the thing, Spencer. There's only one jungle movie I'll ever watch, and that's Jungle to Jungle, starring Tim Allen.
Oh, I thought he was going to go with George of the Jungle.
No, I actually like George of the Jungle. Jungle to Jungle, from what I remember, was awful.
I mean, like you said, Tim Allen's in it, so...
Yeah. Next up on this list, A Princess of Mars. It's one of the Mars books, huh, by Edgar Rice Burroughs. Disney took this other well-known Burroughs work and made it into one of the most expensive action movies ever filmed. 2012 box office bomb, John Carter.
That's a shame.
Hollywood failures aside, this first installment in the Barsoom? What is Barsoom series? Is considered a classic work of early 20th century pulp, not to mention a foundational work of science fiction. I don't remember, I don't think I got around to buying all those.
I don't think so. I think we saw like a thing like on Amazon or something. It was like a collection or something, I think.
Well, Barnes & Noble had like a deluxe edition.
Oh, like one
fancy edition?
Oh,
yeah.
okay. I don't know. I must have missed that.
I don't think I bought it though. Maybe I think it was one of those ones I was going to buy, and I was like, I'll get it eventually, and then they just like stopped having it. Next up, The Thin Man by Dashiell Hammett.
Okay.
Dashiell Hammett's 1934 detective story was originally published in the pages of Red Book. Although it was eventually released in book form, it's far better known for launching the canon of Nick and Nora Charles, the attractive, crime-solving newlyweds who've graced every medium from movies and radio to television and Broadway. And they're so well known that I don't know them.
I was going to say, I had no idea. And like, we normally have a good idea, at least some of those things, or at least if we haven't read them, have heard about them.
The Thin Man is a title I think I vaguely recollect.
Yeah, that sounds familiar.
Now this one you do know, or at least you should. I watched the movie, never read the book. Number 4, The Maltese Falcon.
Oh, yeah, I've heard, yeah.
Also by
Alright.
Dashiell Hammett. Arguably the most famous of Hammett's works, The Maltese Falcon was originally published in Black Mask magazine in 1930. It is often cited as the industry mold for hard-boiled mystery lit, and protagonist Sam Spade is the godfather of noir detectives. What started as a piece of pulpy crime fiction came to be known as one of the best English-language novels of the 20th century, not to mention the inspiration for one of the most highly regarded films of all time. The 1941 adaptation starring Humphrey Bogart and Mary Astor. I don't think I read it.
I haven't.
Yeah.
I was gonna say that might be like a good book club, maybe.
Yeah, I forgot. Like, I thought I might have had it.
A book of the month.
Because when I watched the movie, I was like, oh, I should read the book first and then watch the movie. But I think I only watched the movie. Because I was on, a few years ago, I was on a kick of watching classic noir movies. Next up, Rum Punch. You big fan of Rum Punch?
That one I'm not. I like the title, but I'm not familiar with.
Well, you should know it because it's Elmore Leonard, another one of those fancy crime writers that keep forgetting to read. Despite what you might think, Pulp Fiction wasn't just an early 20th century literary phenomenon. Crime and Western writers Elmore Leonard, the man behind AMC's Justified, kept the train rolling well into the 1980s, 90s, and beyond. Although his best work's number too many to count, my personal favorite is Rum Punch, which was adapted into Quentin Tarantino's 1997 crime drama, Jackie Brown.
Well, okay.
You thought Pulp was the domain of gruff, hardened white guy private eyes? Think again, sucker. It doesn't say sucker,
but I mean, yeah.
I felt like it was needed.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it fits so well there.
Sucker. This one, I would never have considered Pulp, so I'm interested to see where they're going with this, but The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo by Stieg Larsson.
Okay, yeah, I would think more like thriller, but...
Yeah, I mean, I watched the first movie, but I never read the book. I think we read excerpts on here on one of the, graphic scenes or something.
Didn't you like the movie, though, didn't you?
It was okay. Wouldn't watch the second one, so it must not have been that great.
What would you think? Would you check out the first novel?
Nah.
No.
Yeah.
What's it gonna be?
Yeah. No, I'm good.
Like the folks didn't see that, but like the tongue was even out. Yeah.
Listen, sir. I'm on a different category of reading these days, as you might have guessed from the cold open. I can't be slumming it with some fucking Stieg Larsson kicking dildos into guys' butts.
That sounds like right up your alley, though.
Yeah, but the way it's done. How
do you know? You never.
Hooey. And patooey. What I say to that, patooey. So, Spencer, The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. Pulp isn't just limited to American writing either. Swedish crime writer Stieg Larsson's 2005 global bestseller swept across the Atlantic and captured minds with adrenaline-pumping twists and turns on par with the best American pulp masters.
Now, what about in the book, everything just like, nasty, and just like...
Give you a Swedish meatball and a knuckle sandwich, you fuck.
But it's still kicking dildos and butts, though.
Well, I mean, that's probably the whole premise of the book. My problem is if the most famous scene of a work is a kick in the butt with the dildo, isn't that good of a book? Maybe.
Yeah.
Wasn't that the entire plot of Snowpiercer? Was Chris Evans just trying to get to the front so he could dildo the engineer?
Is that what that was about?
I was gonna say captain, engineer, captain. That'd be ridiculous. Captain of a fucking train. I don't know. I never read the manga. I only watched the movie.
It wasn't a manga. I think it was like a Swedish or Polish, it was one of those kind of, different countries.
That was a manga or a Japanese movie or something.
No.
You know what? I'll look that up later.
Okay.
Remind me to look up Snowpiercer.
Okay.
Specifically, dildo scenes. Next up, there's a lot of dildo scenes in this one. Jurassic Park by Michael Crichton.
I don't know. I think it's getting worse, Caleb.
I don't like the CH in his name. Big Mike's Piece de Resistance launched one of the most beloved movie franchises of all time. We know what it is.
Yeah.
But what did it start out as? It started out as a pulp novel of the pulpiest variety, and any close reading of Jurassic Park illuminates just how fluidly the style bled over. I mean, it's not like a pulpy movie, but I could see it.
Because of the sci-fi-ness of bringing dinosaurs back, back.
Yeah.
I've been telling you, that's been something I've been wanting to check out because I keep on hearing the book's definitely like more violent.
Yeah.
I think it goes
more dinosaur eating.
Yeah, and I think probably more detail in getting eaten probably. I would assume.
I would imagine. So this next book, I have no interest in reading.
Okay.
You want to hear a yeah? This is a big yeah. And it's just because I hate the name. I always hated the name. I think it was a movie, and I was like, I'm never going to watch that movie because I don't like the name.
Okay.
John Grisham's The Pelican Brief.
Oh, yeah.
John Grisham is unarguably the master of modern pulp. Modern pulp. I'm slurring now. He's the master of modern pulp, not to be confused with master of modern pulp, Steve Larson. He's a different master of modern pulp.
See, I always considered him more of like a legal thriller, because like his stuff always did with like lawyers and stuff like that, doesn't it?
That's what I assumed. Yeah, what's that book about? The Pelican Brief, possibly his most popular work, is the perfect specimen of the kind of legal suspense. That's why I don't want to watch legal thrillers. It makes me think of Jack Nicholson in court, and for some reason that gives me post-traumatic stress.
The hand of the truth.
I think I watched as a little kid. I was like, why is that guy so angry? I couldn't do it. I don't know.
What happened is like you watched that and then you went and watched The Shining right after this, and you're like, what's going on?
This is a madman. This is crazy. Speaking of madmen and Scarface, that's a weird segue. Why did I think of Scarface? I was thinking of Angry Guys and Al Pacino.
Yeah.
So Al Pacino was in Scarface, which is arguably an awesome movie. Not arguably, one of my favorite movies, I meant to say. Anyway, I was watching this list of the greatest actor or actress. I think it was acting performance of every year for like 100 years or something. I think it started in like the 1920s.
Okay.
And I think it was it was either 23 or 33. I'm going to go with 33 because that seems more plausible. And I think it was an Italian movie, maybe? Was Scarface. The one that was made up?
The original one, yeah.
It was like an Italian guy, who's the bad guy? Boopity boppity boop. And he was throwing meatballs or something. I don't know. I wasn't paying attention, but it looked cool.
Yeah.
And I want to see Scarface doing 1930s cocaine. I don't know what he's jamming his head in back then. Where was I? The Pelican Brief. It is about the assassination of rival Supreme Court... don't care about the fucking assassination.
So do you think you would check out any of his other novels?
You know what, Spencer? I'm going to say no.
No?
The Pelican Brief just turns me off for some reason, so much so I can't even read the synopsis. So let's go to the next book by John Grisham, The Runaway Jury. Because if I didn't want to read the Pelican Brief, I really want an extra legal thriller with The Runaway Jury. Another Grisham work. You know what's stupid? the To Kill a Mockingbird, which is arguably a legal thriller, I would say.
Yeah.
To a degree, is one of my favorite books of all time.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just, I guess it wouldn't be a legal thriller in the thriller part. But there is, like, Boo Radley gets some shit done, I think.
Yeah.
Not to give any spoilers, but Boo Radley does some action when you least expect it. And you think he's a albino ghoul, man. But it turns out,
I do
he's
remember,
the best.
I do remember seeing the old black and white movie and being like, even for black and white, this guy's fucking white. Like, he's so pale.
So, The Runaway Jury was a movie adapted, and it was a 2003 gun control drama starring John Cusack, Gene Hackman, Dustin Hoffman, and Rachel Weisz. So, in the book, Grisham takes on the tobacco lobby, not the gun lobby, but that doesn't mean it's lacking in its signature fast-paced, sharp turns. I don't want to read about the gun lobby. I might want to read more than the tobacco lobby.
Yeah.
Well, like what happens? Like you smoke a cigar at the end. Like, I don't know. Yeah. I read this one.
Oh, okay.
Fight Club by Chuck Palahniuk. Okay, let's settle this because I've heard him give interviews and I always forget. Is it Palahniuk or Palahniuk? I always say Palahniuk.
Yeah, I always say Palahniuk.
I think it's a fake name. I think he wanted to be fancy. I bet it's like Paul.
That's
his real name. Fight Club.
Chuck Paul.
Fight Club is kind of pulpy. It's about some guy who's got some problems and he fights himself a lot.
See, but I don't know. I don't know if I would consider that pulpy though.
Yeah, let's see what their consideration for pulp is. The term pulp fiction was coined to describe afterthought books cobbled together by publishers looking to use excess materials, i.e. paper pulp, and that serves as a pretty apt metaphor for the whole genre. Pulp isn't natural, it's processed, it's generic, and at first glance it's not altogether attractive. But its origins are organic, and upon further consideration, we find it's weirdly fundamental. After all, you can't make paper without pulp, and you can't publish highbrow literary fiction without a stable of high-selling Grishams and Larsons to pay the bills. I don't think that was under the Fight Club category, and I don't think that helped us.
And it didn't say anything. It said nothing.
It was a lot of nothing. So,
you can't make paper without pulp. What the fuck are we talking about right now?
So every book that's written on paper is pulp. Technically. Unless you use one of those stone papers like a fucking asshole. I only write on the human skin books.
Right.
You know? So the first person narration of an anonymous protagonist, the noir-esque backdrop, the anarchist cult. The only thing I think is maybe the atmosphere would be kind of pulpy.
Yeah.
Corporate America, but it's mostly set in like a gross, I imagine like a Detroit.
Yeah, definitely Detroit.
Jake Flanagan wrote this article, by the way. Shout out to Jake Flanagan, who spells his name Flanagin.
I think Mr. Flanagan needs to rework what he
was doing his best
of what pulp is.
He did his best.
Pulp.
Did his best. It's hard because we don't really have pulp fiction nowadays.
Yeah,
there's not a lot of pulp publishers out there, so not a lot of movies being made off of stories that are published in pulp fiction magazines and reviews. I wish there were. How come this doesn't have a date? Jake Flanagan. So Spencer, you know what books I'm gonna add to that list?
Oh no, I don't.
In the Miso Soup.
Oh, there's a movie.
Piercing and Audition. Audition, I would say, is because I think they're all movies. I don't know if Piercing's a movie. In the Miso Soup, I believe, is a movie.
Okay.
And I know Audition is because I watched it after I read the book.
I haven't seen it, but I know that it's a thing.
Audition, I would say Japanese horror. I'll just say that's horror. Even though it's more thriller-esque until the end, I'll just categorize that as horror. But in the Miso Soup, I will say that's more of like a pulpy. I mean, you're almost done with it. Would you say it's like a pulpy thriller? Kind of like a horror thriller, but I wouldn't consider it horror.
No, because there's only like so far like really one scene.
Yeah.
Where like it gets crazy. But yeah, I mean, I guess especially when you say when you
I just think like the like Tokyo nightlife atmosphere.
Yeah,
like, I would say it's more like a Japanese thriller noir.
Yeah, I was gonna say, especially when you consider it being Japanese, like you know what I mean, and the culture, especially in like the early '90s and stuff. Yeah,
it's very dark.
I could see that definitely being, because pulp is really just kind of like a reflection almost of like, because you can do pulp in modern time too. It's just like, I don't know, it's weird to explain, but like it when you see it.
I think to have the best pulp, it needs to be printed on shitty paper.
Yeah,
apparently. Well, that's the thing is like we like you read things and like, oh, that's pulp fiction, but why? I can never get an actual definitive answer as to why. Because you think like, oh, Raymond Chandler, even though that's considered literary crime, it's still pulp. And you get, okay, I get it because they're solving crimes and stuff. And then you're like, oh, Robert E. Howard stuff, literary fantasy and sword and sorcery. But that's pulp because it was published in the Pulp magazine. Same with H.P. Lovecraft. If you read H.P. Lovecraft now, never knowing that it was in Weird Tales or Eerie or whatever the fuck it was published in, would you be like, oh, these are pulp stories?
No, you just be like, they're gothic horror stories.
Yeah, or like cosmic. Well, I guess they cosmic.
Oh yeah,
horror.
Cosmic. Yeah.
But yeah, you would just be like, oh, these are literary horror stories. You wouldn't say they were pulp at all, probably.
And you would say like the Conans or sword and sorcery.
Yeah, and again more literary. That's the thing is when you think of like the classic pulp stories. Pulp has this weird tinge to it where it's like, oh, it means it's genre and not as good as literary fiction the way it's written. But that doesn't seem to be the case with most of the pulp we've read.
Right, yeah.
And then modern pulp, maybe because it's story focused, you can say it's not as I don't know the right word. Compare it to like literary fiction now, maybe like prestigious.
Like the way
highbrow,
like the way it's written, it's
you're not reading it and going, "Oh, the language in this is amazing." But that's again, you could do pulp like that because we've read pulp like that.
Yeah, because like pulp can be very like that, the writing, but it but it can also be very just like plot focused and like moving it along and like not being weighed down by the
And another one which is weird because it's one of the actual classic. I mean, you take it back to the Penny Dreadfuls of the 1800s and early 1900s. Horror was like the classic original pulp before fantasy, really, before sci-fi. It was horror, and yet modern horror, even though that's probably the one that's changed the least in regards to the way it's written style-wise. Like you read a horror and be like, oh yeah, that's like a pulpy horror story. There's still a lot of that, even like a lot of Stephen King stuff. Like, oh, that's pulpy, like a fucking car that comes to life and kills people. You're like, oh, that's pulpy horror. Again, there is literary horror, which we've read, but like you think about that and it's like, okay, we have the pulpy horror stuff, but for some reason that's almost never considered when you think of pulp fiction. Like even like Starlight Pulp Review, like they do a call out. Their main thing is crime, westerns, and some sci-fi, and then they have other.
Yeah.
maybe they call for horror or something. Like they publish horror, and I think every one, but they don't specifically call horror every time. I don't think, but it's just like weird that horror isn't considered pulp that much anymore.
Well, it's that weird thing too, like because we've talked about talked about horror, even with us like getting things submitted and accepted. It seems like horror is a very easy thing to get, like, because like it's one of those things where it's like apparently everybody reads it and enjoys it, but they don't always talk about it, like, like or something like that. Like I don't know.
Well, just like horror movies, like you have a lot of people, their whole personality is based around horror movies and horror franchises. Yet a lot of people also don't talk about the fact that they watch horror movies that much.
Yeah,
they're like, oh yeah, I like horror movies, but then it's like they're on Shudder every night watching them. And it's just weird. I don't think there's a stigma or anything. It's just like it's almost like how reading comic books used to be, where it's like, oh yeah, you like comics, and a lot of people read them, but we don't talk about it that much.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know,
but yeah, it just seems like that, like. I think that just goes with how you were saying, like, horror is one of those early things. And even now, it seems like one of the most accessible things in literature to try to get into as a writer or even as a reader.
Do you think horror is the easiest genre to write in? I mean, obviously, it goes into your background and environment growing up and what shaped you as a person. But do you think just storytelling-wise and whatnot, that horror seems to be the easiest genre? Because you said it's pretty easy to get published in it, as long as the writing's well done. But do you think it's like one of the easier genres to actually write a story in?
Without trying to sound rude, because like that's a lot of what I've got published, but I do think it's a like if you're trying to get started and get stuff in, I would definitely say try to get some horror stuff in just to get some credits and stuff, like, what I mean. I think that would probably be a good idea.
What do you think it would be the hardest genre to get published in? So no literary fiction, just genre.
Sci-fi, maybe, depending on like what would, like, if it's a more like a hard sci-fi thing.
Sci-fi is a weird one because a lot of the markets I see for sci-fi pay very well, so it's more competitive.
Right.
Whereas, like we talk about with horror, besides just a bunch of indie stuff, there's a lot of indie publishers and stuff that are putting out horror collections, and it seems easier to get into. I don't see a lot of calls for indie sci-fi publishers.
Right, yeah.
They're usually better known ones or ones that pay decent, so there's a lot more competition. So I would probably agree with that. Crime seems to be a very popular one.
Right.
That I think if you focus on writing crime, you'd have a similar success rate as with horror.
Yeah, if it's one of those
that's
things...
what you're good at.
Yeah, if there's one of those things, like if you can master that kind of storytelling is a good...
Assuming you're good at every genre you're doing, like whatever genre you go into, you're good at. I would say romance is the easiest one to get in published in.
Yeah,
because there's so much, because that's like the number one selling genre, I think. Followed by crime and horror, I would say they're about equal footing. Sci-fi, I think, is a lot harder to get into. Comedy satire, it's very hard to find, so I'd imagine that's like really hard to get into. Because the places that do publish that are like higher end, like McSweeney's and stuff. It's not easy to get into that. And
well, what about where are you gonna put fantasy?
I was gonna say, I think fantasy is really easy to get into if you do it well, because there's so many different kinds of fantasy.
Yeah, because at first I was gonna say, like,
honestly, fantasy's probably easier to get into than horror if you can limit your word counts.
Yeah,
that's my problem with getting fantasy stuff published. Is like, my Asher Kang story was really long. Yeah. Like I can't keep them under 5,000 words. Then again, I can't keep a lot of my horror stories under 5,000 words. But at least in horror, I could just kill off all the characters. And it's done. And then I would say that, like, assuming mystery doesn't fall under the crime category, I think having good mystery, I think that's hard to get into because you have to be you have to be more original with that.
Well, also, and then like when you do a mystery, it needs to pay off. The things need to be there to where if you're writing kind of like this action adventure or even like horror, it's like, you maybe fudge some things or it might not line up 100%, but I'm enjoying the story and the ride, so I'm okay with it. But with like a mystery, like, it better make sense. It better just not be some fucker we didn't see it all through the whole thing. It's like, what the fuck's that? Like, you know what I mean? Like you need to definitely stick the landing and make sure things...
You have to be really good at plotting.
Yeah.
And, setting things up and organizing works. And that's another one. I feel like horror is easier to just be a discovery writer. Like, Stephen King's the most famous of those, I think. But just to be like, oh, I'm a pantser, I just go and
You're
just
right.
come up with the ideas as I go. I think horror is a lot easier than mystery when it comes to that.
You could probably do crime maybe that way.
Yeah, like like as long as it's not like a mystery,
Yeah.
necessarily, just like a crime noir or thriller. Now here's I'll end on this. I think this is the easiest genre. I said romance.
Yeah.
Adjacent to romance, I think anybody who can write well can get published in this. Erotica.
Oh, well, I thought you maybe gonna go YA.
I don't consider that a genre because YA is all of those genres
True.
just under young adult.
Right.
So I mean, some people consider it a genre. I don't. I consider it just
Demographic.
Yeah, because like when we were growing up, we talked about this before, like Nancy Drew and Goosebumps and all that stuff. Is like a lot of that is
Well,
written just like
we didn't even like we had that stuff, but it was never like categorized as like
that's what I'm
YA.
saying. They didn't
It
have
was
YA,
just-
but that was like what that was back
I
then.
mean, we just they were kid books, I guess.
That's what we thought, but now kid books stretch on to early 40s. Folks, if you like this episode, you can check us out at DPW Podcast on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Spencer's OnlyFans this week. He's out there in Massachusetts, and he is mashing muffins
Yes.
into a fine paste,
Mm-hmm.
spreading them all over his body,
Ah.
and exposing himself to rockets
And
because he's a rocket man.
then making them fall.
Do you think Thomas Pynchon has jacked off to Elton John's Rocket Man?
Oh yeah. What do you think was playing when he was writing this?
Was that out then? I think
Yeah,
it was
probably.
70s. I don't fucking know. So Reginald. It's Elton John's real name.
Hmm.
Reginald Dwight.
Oh.
I'm pretty sure that's it, and I hate it so much because your name's Reginald Dwight is not a name.
No.
That's two first names and two dumb first names.
That's two British first names.
let me I almost typed in Reginald Dwight. Elton John's real name, Sir I feel like his fake name's worse. Sir Elton Hercules John.
Oh.
His middle name Hercules? Can't do that. Oh, is it one of those things where he
Just changed his name.
well, I know he changed his name, but I mean like tried to wipe that off the here we go. Nope. That ain't it. Nope, that's not the word either.
Why don't you just look up Reginald
I got
Dwight?
it. Reginald Kenneth Dwight.
Oh.
So he did give himself the Hercules.
Why? That's such a weird thing to have in between Elton John. And then, like, if you're gonna do that, why not use it?
Elton Hercules John. I don't know, sir. I don't know.
Do you think he was just a fan of Greek myths?
They're very erotic.
Right? Like,
A lot of greased up dudes wrestling. So maybe. Anyway, folks, we thank you for listening thus far. That's about it.
yeah.
I was trying to think if I have anything coming out. I do, but I can't announce it because it's not out yet for some reason, even though it's supposed to come out. I can announce it. That thing I had in Rotten Pomegranate,
Okay.
they said it was going to be published Monday, April 6th, I
No.
believe was the date, and
Never. Oh.
nothing's come out.
That's
So maybe next week. Maybe when this comes out, maybe it'll be out. I don't know.
and we're getting every closer to My Friends in Hell.
Yeah, that'll be out in May. So, yeah, just keep an eye out. I'll have all that stuff on Instagram and on my website. Anyway, thank you for listening. We'll check you out next week.